Hey, good afternoon. Sunday, March 10th, 2024. The day after we sprang forward daylight savings time, so I'm a little tired today, I think. Losing that 1 hour, but that's okay. It's a nice day today nevertheless. Yeah, this is going to be a bit of an off-topic video, just a short little video I want to do. This is basically my little tribute to MMA superstar Francis Ngannou, who unfortunately just got knocked out over the weekend by Anthony Joshua. Um, I have to say that it didn't surprise me. And in my defense, just to prove my prognostication powers, I guess, I do belong to a few Reddit sites. One of the Reddit communities is a boxing community, and I put it in writing, several days before the fight, that I didn't think Francis had a chance against Joshua. In fact, I predicted that Joshua would more than likely knock Francis out, and unfortunately, that came true. But I was rooting for Francis. I wanted Francis Ngannou very badly to somehow get the victory, because I'm a big fan of Francis Ngannou, and beyond that, I'm a big MMA fan. I've learned to appreciate MMA fighters and all the skill involved in being an MMA fighter. And I've become a diehard MMA guy over the last several years. But I didn't start out that way. I started out as a boxing fan. I was a hardcore boxing fan. Probably I started out being a fan probably ever since I started to watch the Rocky movies when I was a little kid, when I was probably 8, 9, 10 years old, watching all the Rocky movies. And that sort of piqued my interest in boxing and fighting and just being a tough guy. And then as I moved into my teenage years, Mike Tyson, Mike Tyson was like the big name back when I was, 14, 15, 16, Mighty Mike, Iron Mike, and then you had all the other guys, Holyfield, Riddick Bowe, of course, George Foreman coming back. I was actually a big fan of George Foreman when he made his comeback, and I followed his comeback during the whole, from the beginning all the way to the end. And I was a big fan of Big George. But then there were other guys too, the lighter weight guys, James Toney, Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler, John Mugabe, Terry Norris. There were all kind of excellent fighters. My dog is going a little nuts here. Sorry. She's been pestering me all morning long. We're out here trying to do a nice little hike, and I'm trying to make a video, and she's right on me. So, but anyway, yeah, man, I'm just bummed out for Francis. What a remarkable human being Francis Ngannou is. If you know his whole story, the way he left Cameroon and he went on this long trek, and then he ended up getting, apprehended by the authorities, and then getting sent back to Africa, and then he made his way to Morocco, and then he got apprehended numerous times and sent back to the desert. And his whole out of Africa story is just absolutely amazing. Then eventually he made his way into Europe, and then he found his way to France, Paris, and then that's where basically he started training MMA. But by his own admission, he wanted to be a boxing person. He was always into boxing. He wanted to become a boxer, but his early coaches, they convinced him to try MMA, and then he just ended up following the MMA path. But what a badass guy. Francis Ngannou, even though he just got knocked out brutally by Anthony Joshua, I have no qualms in saying that Francis Ngannou right now, today, even though he just got knocked out 2 days ago, Francis Ngannou is the baddest dude to walk the planet currently. I don't think there's another human being alive right now today that can beat Francis Ngannou in a one-on-one fight with no weapons, nothing else other than just your hands, your legs. That's it. Just a one-on-one, no holds barred fight. I don't think there's anyone out there that could deal with Francis Ngannou right now. You could make a case for John Jones. Then there's a couple other guys out there, Tom Aspinall, Sergey Pavlovich. There's a lot of tough guys out there. There's a lot of very capable fighters, but I still say that Francis Ngannou more than likely is the number one baddest dude on the planet. And him being knocked out by AJ just means that he lost to a boxer. Francis Ngannou is a novice boxer. He's a very experienced and seasoned fighter, but he's not a boxer. And that's a big difference. Boxing is a very, very specific skill set. And, you can't use anything other than basically your hands and your arms, and you can use your legs to move around and pivot and feint and things like that, but it's basically a striking art. So, Francis lost to a very seasoned professional high-level boxer. I mean, AJ came up through the amateur ranks. He came up through he was an Olympic boxer. He was in the Olympics, and then his amateur career, and then his whole professional career. So, I mean, it was really unfair to put Francis Ngannou up against Anthony Joshua, but Francis wanted to do it, right? I mean, Francis wanted to test himself against the best. And he did it once against Tyson Fury, and he performed much better than I ever gave him credit for being able to perform. I mean, when Francis signed to fight Tyson Fury, I thought Tyson Fury was going to do to Francis what Anthony did to Francis, but unexpectedly, Francis ended up performing much better against Tyson Fury than most people gave him credit for, than most people expected he'd be able to do, including myself. I didn't think it was going to be much of a fight, but Francis performed very well against Tyson Fury. He pushed him to the limit. I don't think he beat Francis. I mean, I don't think Francis beat Tyson. Tyson outpointed him. He did enough to win more rounds than Francis did, but Francis pushed him to the edge, and I mean, what a remarkable human being Francis Ngannou is. And I just hope that this knockout against AJ doesn't screw with him mentally. I just hope that it doesn't leave him gun shy. That it doesn't make him more susceptible now to being knocked out, whether it's in MMA or boxing, because that's my fear. That was my immediate fear right after Francis got knocked out by AJ, is that I was thinking, oh man, I hope he's not damaged now. I hope he's not damaged psychologically, so going forward now, he may be a little bit more susceptible to being beaten now, just because he's, his first time that he was ever knocked out, and it was a brutal knockout. So I worry that Francis might be a little gun shy, moving forward. Hopefully that isn't the case, but, nevertheless, I mean, I just wanted to do this short little video, and saying, hey, Francis Ngannou, I salute you. I support you. You're still the baddest dude to walk the planet. And, you lost to a very seasoned, high-level professional boxer. I mean, that's it. I mean, and you should have lost, probably. I mean, when you look at the respective records of each guy, and you look at one guy being a professional boxer and another guy basically being a professional MMA fighter who's moving into the sport of boxing, and he's not just moving into the sport of boxing, he's jumping in at the deep end. I mean, he didn't start out fighting some lower level guys, a few, tomato cans, journeymen. No, Francis dove in at the absolute deepest end of the heavyweight boxing pool. So, I mean, what do you expect? I mean, he lost to AJ. I mean, Francis is not even an amateur boxer. Of course he lost. But I give him all the credit in the world, and I just say, hey, Francis, I salute you going forward. May you continue to have all the success that you hope to have and that you want to have, and God bless you. Francis Ngannou.